Welcome to Censored, and this reading is from number 114, entitled The Hidden Enemy. And before I begin reading, there are two biblical quotes here at the beginning, and one is from 1 Thessalonians 5:21, "Prove all things, hold fast that which is good." The second biblical quote, "He that oppresses the poor to increase his riches, and he that gives to the rich shall surely come to want." And that's from Proverbs 22, verse 16. Now, The Hidden Enemy by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D. We have in America many apologists, enablers, and protectors of big business and our moneyed elites. Some of us wall them off and select them for special treatment. We pay them an obscene deference, much like people in the past did with kings, princes, and barons. Why? These people kill with impunity: miners, oil riggers, and arthritis sufferers. We're always making excuses for amoral behavior. But beyond this, the undisputed fact is that these people, in the past and today, hate democracy and our Constitution. A case in point is that in the early 1930s, the elites of our country at that time planned a coup to take over the administration of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and put in power a friendly fascist dictator. FDR was called a communist and a socialist simply because he sought to have government do something for the little guy. In FDR's day, the American Legion acted as a strike-breaking agency. In the 1930s, strikers were thought of as communists. The American Legion also broke up civil rights demonstrations. At this time, many of the rich hated the cripple in the White House. The New Deal was called creeping socialism. Do we see some patterns emerging here reminiscent of our present-day Tea Parties? In 1934, big business, that is, Fortune magazine, glorified Mussolini's Italian fascism. Fascism was in the corporate air. Big business believed FDR was misruling the country. The American Liberty League and the bigwigs of industry and finance of the day were out to combat radicalism and to foster free enterprise. Sound familiar? These people denounced the New Deal. They also attacked FDR for fomenting class hatred. Ringing any bells yet? At this time, the American Legion praised Mussolini. Republicans claimed that a Democratic FDR victory would make the United States a socialist country. Conservatives of the day smeared every progressive idea as communist. In 1933, 3 weeks before FDR's inauguration, an attempt was made to assassinate him in Miami. The plot to take over America and replace FDR with a dictator was a fascist plot. The plot was thought of as patriotic. Sound familiar? Wall Street was then, as now, an enemy of the government. Putting it bluntly, John L. Spivak said, "In a money-standard civilization such as ours, the universal regard for anyone who is rich tends to persuade some millionaires that they are knowledgeable in fields other than that of making money." The plotters tried to enlist the aid of General Smedley Darlington Butler, who came to regard war as a racket, and that the American press of that time, as it is today, was capitalist controlled. It suppressed facts not in line with powerful corporations. Nothing new here. General Butler also called the United States an imperialistic nation. General Butler was chosen to head the coup against the White House because of his popularity with the soldiers. The plotters believed the general could raise a group of soldiers that would follow him in the takeover of the White House. There was money and very important people involved in the plot. These people hated the fact that the New Deal was for the people and not for those with money and power. The plotters had it all figured out so as to make the coup sound constitutional. They planned to set up a dictator with a good American program. However, it was to be a fascist government. That is what the rich wanted. General Butler saw that the job of the military was to protect democracy at home and to not waste lives of soldiers on foreign soil in protecting American interests overseas. General Butler saw war as being conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the masses. Out of war, people made great fortunes, wringing dollars out of the blood in war. General Butler believed that profit had to be taken out of war. War is hell. Even though General Butler testified before a government committee and exposed the plot, the plotters lied, but the committee never pursued it further, even knowing that General Butler's evidence was factual. The plotters were never brought to justice or punished. The newspapers failed to give the plot proper exposure. You can't read about the plot in books, nor in history books. It's been forgotten. In true hero style, General Butler spurned the chance to become a dictator of the United States and made sure no one else did. With the near destruction in 2008 of the United States financial sector and the economy by the wealthy, who sought even more wealth, our economy has been left in shambles and our national debt and deficit are out of control. In the last 30 years, the wealthy have avoided paying their fair share of taxes and have put this burden on the poor and the middle class. We are now at a fork in the road in this crisis. Our government exists to serve the public, not the banks or other corrupt businesses. Conservatives laugh off the idea of the public interest. These conservatives, along with spineless Democrats, have made a cult of outsourcing and privatizing and have racked up a mountain of debt in order to deliberately force the government into crisis, which might result in spending cuts. Everyone with half his brain not tied behind his back knows that tax cuts do not pay for themselves and they do not create jobs. Jobs are created by small business. A tax hike under Bill Clinton produced 22 million jobs. and a couple of years of surplus. No deficit. G.W. Bush's tax cuts produced no net jobs in 10 years. Whereas in 8 years, Bush should have created about 14,400,000 jobs. Only 1 million were ever created. This lie about tax cuts creating jobs must be stopped. For years, our government has been under attack by the same forces that tried to overthrow Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Like the Nazis of today, they work underground and use sleight of hand to bring about their evil ends. It has come to our attention here at Censored that in these last midterm elections, longtime readers voted Republican and swallowed Tea Party lies and do not regard Sarah Palin as an empty skirt. All of this when they know better. Revelation 12:9, the whole world is deceived. The Bible prophesies the downfall of the United States as a world power, a financial and military power. This situation comes about from within, then ostracism and takeover by the new world power, the beast, the last resurrection of the Holy Roman Empire, the King of the North. Today, there is no coexistence between liberalism and conservatism. Conservatism in America has always sided with business and a commitment to laissez-faire. Conservatism hates taxation, regulation, unions, and big government. Conservatives are cynics. They want government to be run like a business, a corporation, a dictatorship. Corporations are totalitarian structures. Corporations tell their workers what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and many times how to die. No one should expect to wake up in the morning and go to work to die for the company. Corporations have too much power and too much money. Corporations understand what the average citizen does not, that capitalism is amoral. In the financial meltdown of 2008, trillions of dollars of taxpayer money was given to corrupt financial firms that should have been allowed to die. Creative destruction. This was an amoral act. Only a tiny bit of that money got to Main Street, where it would have stimulated the economy and put people back to work. Today's conservative wants an impotent government and not one well run. During Ronald Reagan's administration, the Office of Management and Budget fudged budget projections. There was no oversight. The blunders and incompetence during the G.W. Bush years were no accidents. They were deliberate. Conservatives do not want government to work. Conservatives want a government they can lead around by a nose ring. There is only a degree of difference between what conservatives want of our government and what the plotters sought to do to FDR. Today, conservatives are helped in their quest by a right-wing leaning Supreme Court, corporations, and the Chamber of Commerce. In 1995, the Republican Congress ceased keeping records regarding the Defense Department's revolving door. Conservatives in government have brought about deliberate mismanagement in the Labor Department, which is filled with unqualified people in positions of power who end up policing workers rather than protecting them. There is mismanagement in the EPA, and the FDA is now an arm of the pharmaceutical industry. These people worship at the throne of big business, and they believe that the regulatory state is a criminal enterprise. Did we hear any of this from the disgruntled people in the Tea Party? A market that is not regulated can bid down wages, push up profits any way it can. To a conservative, the answer to corruption is no government at all. Conservatives do not wish to debate liberalism, they want to erase it. David Stockman admitted that conservatives sabotage government. They are vandals. Our government today is a plutocracy, bought from the top down, and Tea Party voters strengthened it. In 1965, the GNP grew at 6.5%, but today it rarely grows over 2%. Taxes on the wealthy were high in 1965, and today they are low, and we have poor growth, hardly any manufacturing, huge deficits, and no jobs. Of course, when Republicans are in power, deficits don't matter. But when they want tax cuts for the rich, deficits matter. And job creation becomes a talking point. Actually, regarding our job picture today, the jobs that are gone won't be coming back. The job picture is only going to get worse. We don't need a dictator today to destroy America. Conservatives, corporations, and the greedy wealthy have done a damn fine job. The end.